to the break room.
So on Monday, if you guys don't know, I try and talk at a lower volume.
Would you like to ease into it a little bit? Can you hear us?
Why is Alex wearing that A's hat?
Why is Alex wearing any hat at all?
Welcome to the break room, guys. It's here for your morning coffee. If you want to get your frothy coffee, I get cocoa and coffee. Kelly just doesn't have coffee.
Well, can I tell you something? This morning I made my morning smoothie and I made it too frothy, and it made me think of you because it like blended too much, so then it had that froth on top. I
think a lot of people describe that as me, too frothy.
Oh. But in a good way.
Okay, a lot of people just agreed with that in the room, as if they've said it before. A little too comfortable with the
with the joke.
So coming back from New York, you guys.
How was your trip? And your birthday?
Wonderful. My parents met me. My sister met me. My husband was there. I got to be honest, though. I lived there in 2006 to 2008, and there's about 8 million people there, 9 million, close to that. There's close to almost 12 million now, and there is just...
Too many people?
I couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah, I don't like that.
My code check took 45 minutes to get there.
Oh, I don't like that.
Then we forgot something, and then I'm getting more code checks.
No, I don't like that.
Anywho, I had a real problem with the overwhelm. I feel energy, and I felt too much. I did.
Yeah, I don't like that then.
I really did.
Not my cup of tea.
But I worked on a cool secret project I can't wait to tell you guys about. And it was so good seeing my parents. We went to the Warhol Museum. I told Bert I went to Warhol, and he goes, Andy Warhol? I go, no, Kevin, his brother. And he goes, oh. I go, no, there's no Kevin Warhol. It's Andy Warhol.
I just made it up.
I didn't know he was an illustrator for certain brands like Coca-Cola and all that, and that's really what got him started on the commercialized print.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it made me think very quickly of Black Mirror because he's so meta. He's referencing things. He would be so popular now in the millennial world.
100%.
He's so Black Mirror.
Popular, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, how was your birthday? What did you go to a nice dinner? Did you get into that place you were talking about? I'm blanking on the name.
And we went to a place where they sat us by a fireplace.
And it wasn't great?
It was a fireplace. Crackle.
So you were like sweating while you were eating?
No, it was like a fake, like I'm gasoline and pretending to have embers. And the guy comes over and I wanted like New York service, right?
Yeah.
I was like going to pay for it and be like my thing with my family.
With
He's
your
like,
birthday,
he's like, what do you want?
Oh no. Did you leave or did you stay?
We stayed.
It's okay. We could do a dinner here. We could do a fun dinner here.
And then my mom's like, I don't know what to get. And she kind of got panicky about what to get. And then finally she's like, I'll just have the lobster. And she just downed a 2-pound lobster. And I was like, all right, I think you knew what you wanted.
Oh, Judy.
But we did have caviar. I've never really had caviar before in my life. With creme fraiche and a Bellini. And I loved it.
Good. Well,
anywho, there's the birthday.
It turned out well. So
yes.
That's all that really matters. I also saw that.
Hi, Facebook. What's up, Tammy? Everyone's writing in. Stephen Hill. Hi, guys.
Joining us on Facebook. Salim.
Fun B-Day weekend. What did you have? A Cosmo drink? New hairdo today? Okay, so today is real 80s.
I love it.
Is it in?
I am feeling it. I'm feeling the body. I'm feeling the curls. I'm loving it.
It's a little Elizabeth Shue-esque that someone
But it'll fade throughout the day. Okay. I am loving it.
It's a little high right now.
I'm going to tell Coco that's what I want my hair to look like.
I feel like I'm like...
No, I love it.
Like a bird, like a dove's going to come out. Okay, sorry, go ahead. You did improv school in New York City. Yes, I did. Stephen Hill, I did UCB. Does anyone know what that stands for? University of CB? California, Berkeley? So good. It is called the Upright Citizens Brigade, and it is by Amy Poehler, who started it about 20 years ago. So in New York, I worked with the man who started Veep, Armando, who is one of the biggest UCB, and then in LA, I did it as well. Great school. So let us know what's going on with you guys. I have some really cool stories. I was at the airport. I asked some TSA agents what's going on with the shutdown. I got some quotes for you guys. Yes, so we'll get into that. Ooh, it was interesting. We're on day 24 now of the shutdown, and sources right now are saying there's no end in sight. It doesn't help that D.C. is pretty much snowed in right now. My parents had to stay in New York. Oh, my God, they did? They couldn't get home. See? What are they going to do? No. Go shopping, I hope. They are shopping. Yeah, okay, good. So the president, he did comment on it this morning about whether he would call a national emergency. He said, quote, he's not looking to declare it, but he says, quote, this is so simple we shouldn't have to. Now I have the absolute legal right to call it, but I'm not looking to do that because it is too simple. So obviously he wants Congress to handle it, but that's not happening. We're at a stalemate here. So and what's interesting too is, guys, remember how we phrase the shutdown is important. So Obamacare was important because it was called Obamacare because it relates back to him. People are now calling this, including TSA agents that we saw signs of who aren't getting paid at JFK, and I talked to some of them. They're calling it the, quote, Trump shut down. So not necessarily whether or not you believe it, and I do believe it, but you can honestly debate me on that. I do understand that. But it's being branded on social media as his shutdown. And if we can all remember that moment in the Oval Office with Schumer and Pelosi, where they really baited him into saying, well, you came up with this. And finally he's like, you know what? I do own this shutdown. They're going to play that on repeat for the next 25,000 years.
And we'll actually talk about it in our fifth host. Yeah. A majority of Americans, there's multiple polls out this morning from CNN, ABC, Washington Post, HuffPost. There's multiple polls, and they all say the same thing. A majority of Americans believe that this is Trump's fault.
Yes.
So again, we'll be talking about that more in fifth host, and we'll give you specific numbers of that breakdown so you know what we're talking about, but more than 50%. That's Republicans and
that's everybody.
That's Americans itself. Are saying that it's Trump's fault. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
And let's be honest, what is the one thing Trump hates the most? And a lot of you can say things, but he really doesn't like looking bad.
No.
There's an ego there, which I think we can all agree to. Some of it is great you need an egotistical president, but the ego being hurt is something that he will start to really feel. And when you see tweets multiple times at like 5 a.m, you know you're sort of hitting a bruise there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
He can't sleep. He's tweeting because he can't sleep. Yeah, because he's upset.
That's a great point.
Clearly.
Also, my hair looks wonderful. I really had to get that in. Thank you so much, Tammy Gibson.
I think so too,
blue.
Tammy.
Thank you.
Another note, Tori was talking about the TSA. So that blue flu, it's still continuing. 800,000 people didn't get paid on Friday. 51,000 of those are TSA workers.
Lord.
So whether they're furloughed or just working and not getting paid. Tori, I don't know if you want to tell your story now, but she will be telling it later on the show. She talked to a TSA worker and asked her off the record how this is going, and she'll talk about that later on the show. But it was kind of jarring to hear from first point how they're dealing with this.
I wanted to take a picture really bad, but I didn't want her to feel embarrassed. But as I approached security, there was a whole other feeling. We're at JFK, and I'll just say somebody was like this. I got to go home. Uneasy. And then someone else was like, let's shut this one down like this. And I walked over, and a woman goes, I don't even want to be here. And I look, and I go, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm a journalist. But I did. I said, I do a talk show, and I would love to know off the record, are you being paid? Does that make you uncomfortable? She said, I'm not being paid. I haven't been paid. And I go, yeah, this attitude, this whole feeling, there's a sense of just lackadaisicalness of like, I don't care. And she said, quote, I would always be the nice one. I was always the nice TSA agent, and now I don't care what you do.
Yeah, because you're not getting paid.
But it's chilling to hear, I don't care what you do. So it's very, very nervous. Very, very nervous about border security and all that. Houston Airport, St. Louis Airport, and now this morning Atlanta Airport, they're having to close entire security checkpoints because they don't have enough staff. Miami was also one of those included earlier in the week.
Yep. So on that note, we did just learn also today that there was a man who got through TSA carrying a handgun. So he not only carried a handgun through security, he went all the way to Japan with that handgun.
Wow, international.
So, TSA is saying this morning that it was not because of the government shutdown, but I think we all know that that's not true.
Yeah, and I want to give, I think we can all understand, I think everyone's on the same page here. We don't want people to go hungry that are working for our federal government. A couple of good news things. Rainey's saying our food bank has set up food packages for TSA workers. We know Sweet Greens, which is a great restaurant, is giving furloughed government workers
in DC,
with an ID, you can actually get free salads. I also know that pizza is being sent. Canadian air traffic controllers, they sent about hundreds of pizzas to unpaid counterparts in the U.S.
Saying we know how hard think about it. You think about how many airplanes are in the sky at once. This is a very specific job. You can't just go into work and chill behind your desk. You're working nonstop, and these people are working for free. So I think it's really cool that our neighbors to the north sent so many pizzas to a bunch of different air traffic controllers. And it gives me chills. That's really nice. They said something specific, and we'll be talking about it later in the show, but there was also a government worker whose wife just won the lottery.
I know.
So she's using her lottery winnings to help pay for him not getting a paycheck. But my question was this morning, how long is it going to take for her to get those lottery winnings?
Right.
It could be a while.
That's right. And again, we want to give you the stat. This is from S&P reports that if the shutdown does go 2 more weeks, now I think it's more of a week and a half, I believe. It will be, we will lose in the economy the same amount as the wall.
If not more.
So they're holding it up for $5 billion. At that point, we will be at $6 billion. So just so you know where we are in terms of money, we're losing money because the economy is not working the same way. That's how much we'll lose. It's actually what they needed for the budget for the wall. Now, you can argue that that's someone's fault or not, but that's really where we're standing, where common sense is sort of being left out the window here, which is a little upsetting to me on, whatever you guys think. A lot of you guys writing in, so are we worrying about the security at our airports, but what about our border security, says Amy Schicantance Williams. My question is, the president's having a hard time coming up with a national emergency reason because there isn't a real, and what I believe, crisis or emergency.
Even he's saying it's too simple.
Right, at the border.
Simple.
So when I say border
good.
security, I don't think there's the hysteria that he's been marketing. No. And I think we've seen that. Crisis. And I think the crisis, I think the emergency-ness of it isn't there. 4,000 people have been stopped when it talks, and they talk about much more people coming from airports have much more security problems with crime and drugs. So if we look at common sense and science, the border has, yes, 3,000 to 4,000 Honduran, Guatemalan. That's a very small number, and no one is sort of like, there's no uprising. It's just people waiting, trying to get asylum. So when I do think about that, I am looking, and I'm doing triage here. I'd rather control my airports at this point when statistically they're more dangerous than the border. But, please, April, feel free to write me back as well.
And let's keep reiterating the fact that Democrats do want security at the border. This is not about that. We all want security at the border. We all want
Republicans
our borders
do.
secure.
And I wonder if you are a moderate Republican, if you are a conservative that isn't a Trump person, or you're a Trump person who doesn't want the wall, what will you be satisfied with? And does this frustrate you because we're sort of stalled?
Yeah, we're at a
So
stalemate
I'd love
here
to hear from Republicans about border security, and Democrats. What do you prefer for a border security? I'm with Jason on this one. I really believe in technology, really updating us to a 21st century type of wall. That to me makes more common sense logic.
I agree. Keep sending us your comments, though. I think we're going to go to our fifth host on that note.
And really quick, Linda Bird says they will get back pay. That's true.
Yes.
But you're also having to pay your credit cards off right now.
And you have to remember that a lot of these people live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. That's way more normal than people remember.
Medications.
It's a problem. Yeah. Not able to pay those upfront fees.
Yeah.
Your kids' soccer game.
And they still have to go to work.
They still have to go to work for no pay.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go to the fifth host now.
Wait, hold on. The building is not falling apart. All right, guys, welcome to Fifth Host. We have a really interesting one. You guys are already chiming in. We got Jason Newteal here.
Hey guys, how are you? Happy Monday.
Our digital executive producer.
Yes. So, normally we try to not do the top story as the Fifth Host, but last week I feel like you guys were talking about the wall and we didn't do it as the Fifth Host, and you continued to talk about it, so we're just going to go all in.
We're listening to you guys.
This is what's trending today. Multiple polls, as Kelly and Tori said. That's your name.
My birthday's over, I guess.
That's right. So basically, so they were saying, like they said, 53% of Americans told pollsters they blame Trump and congressional Republicans. So that is Republicans and Democrats together, all polled. Total, 53% of us are blaming the president, 29% are blaming Democrats. That is a big, big gap. He is not winning the PR war here.
No.
Now, I was wondering,
especially with government workers being having to do GoFundMes for their rent, it just doesn't.
And
look
I just,
good.
You spoke about common sense, and I don't know, is it just me that the largest attack on our country was not done by planes? So here we are arguing about, well, what about the border wall? What has anyone other than, and by the way, there are incidences of people being murdered by people who should not have been here, and that's terrible. But how much of our daily news before Trump came into office was about immigrants coming in and causing all kinds of horrible, horrible, horrible crimes? It wasn't really exaggerated until the Trump administration. So for anyone to sit there and say, but what about the wall? What about the wall? It just seems like what about no airport security? Were we not for the past 20 years concerned about airport security? And now this is not as important as his little pet project? It just seems a little weird to me. That's just my own opinion.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear back from you if you feel differently.
Well, B.H. Brady says, if the drugs have been coming in at the airport then, so is this due to bad TSA and custom workers before the shutdown? How are they getting through the airports? B.H. Brady 1, from what I understood about the statistics, the density of the amount of drugs is so much greater coming through airports than it is at the wall. So it's literally just more people, meaning they're going to get more things. There isn't that many coming through the wall at the border. That is more sign for asylum, for trying to escape in, and for people. The drug mule seems to A, be coming more from the Canada border, and B, in airports and vehicles at port entry. Those are important to hear. Those facts are really important because that's true.
And listen, we can also debate the effectiveness of TSA or not as far as how 100% effective they are, but I think we can all agree I would rather have them at this point than not have them at all.
Yeah,
I mean, now we have nothing. So, that's two different arguments, I think.
Jason Anderson's favorite local pizza place, Pure Pizza, is giving free meals to families for anyone who shows a federal ID. Small local business, very kind of them. Jason, let me know where this is so we can give them a shout out on air. I love stories like this. Keep pouring in. These make my day when we have stuff like this. It's like Canadians, Americans helping each other out. It's like so ridiculous.
Amy Chicken-Sans Williams, where did the terrorists during 9/11 enter our country? Well, they flew in with their visas, and they flew in.
Through the air.
They flew in and they showed their visas, and that's how they got here. So they didn't hop walls. That's just not. So that's how they got here. They flew legally here with their mocked up visas.
Yeah, and they got in. So it's important to remember. There's emotional sentences and feelings and misgivings, but there's also common sense, and we're trying to get people just to be able to eat. I just want people to be able to have a roof over their head. That's it. So I'm not trying to fight this big political fight. I'm just trying to get us back as a country working.
Yeah, I'll take the political fight. I'll start the political fight. Because honestly, I think having the longest government shutdown in American history on your
is
clock, not a good look. Not a good look. If he doesn't want to, people can call him the worst president ever. People, you can disagree with that. I mean, it's a very big statement, but when you start having worst things ever on your clock, doesn't help that fight.
Yeah.
Doesn't help that fight.
No.
So
and
there's,
and we're also starting to hear about for Trump, and I want there to be a compromise, but now we find out that Trump was being investigated by the FBI and the Mueller. Things are just kind of piling, and that can cause sort of chaos, which is the last thing we need.
Stephen Hill, any new movies this weekend? I saw A Simple Favor. It was good. Stephen, I watched A Star Is Born.
And?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Would you give it what letter grade?
I'd B plus, A minus.
I knew I was going to say B plus.
I mean, the storyline's very simple.
Yes.
But I thought they did a great job. So yeah, I liked it.
Was
Still
a star
like Green Book
born?
more. A star was born, and her name was Gaga.
Do you think Gaga will win Best Actress, or do you think Glenn Close will win?
Well, this is interesting. We're going to talk about this in the show today. They actually tied at the Critics' Choice. I think it's going to be between the two of them.
Oh, I think for sure.
And here, in my own personal experience from knowing Glenn Close in movies, so I therefore know her personally, I wouldn't want to mess with Glenn Close.
GC is...
She will boil your bunny.
The bunny thing.
She will boil your bunny.
If you're too young to understand what we're saying, hashtag Fatal Attraction, look it up.
No. Google it if you're too young. I'm not explaining. I'm not explaining anything to millennials anymore. Google it.
We have something from Facebook very important here. Kathleen Kane Horn. Sorry, my love. Kathleen Kane Hone. Those who aren't working won't get paid. Here's the problem. We live in a democratic republic being run like an oligarchy. If you don't know what oligarchy means, several people running the government at the top of the list. And it's not the branches. It's just like a group of rich people. Mitch McConnell has the power to hold a vote that could reopen the government. Remember Schoolhouse Rock Saturday morning? Well, my daughter is waiting for heart surgery that requires a device sitting in the FDA waiting approval. She is by no means in critical condition, but it causes me concern about who might be basically dealing with the FDA. Interesting.
That's a big fear. I totally feel
I also
for
worry
you.
about food coming in. Remember, the FDA is shutting down certain domestic checks.
But check me on this, because I'm not 100% sure. Did they not have a bipartisan resolution at the beginning of this?
They did.
They had a bipartisan. So Congress came together and had a resolution, and then our president said no. So literally, this was handed to the front door of the White House with a bipartisan resolution.
With a $1.6 billion fee for starting to have major border security of common sense.
But he didn't see his wall, and then he said no. Right. So this, I mean, it's very hard to fight that this is a Congress shutdown. Many shutdowns in the past are clearly congressional fights. This, they came together and found a resolution, and then Trump turned it down. So it's very hard to argue that it's not his shutdown.
Especially when he said it in the Oval Office.
Well, he owned it. Right.
Shutdown.
I mean, listen, there's been public offices that have signs up that say, we are closed, tantrum in progress. That's not a good look. I mean, when your entire, staff of federal employees is blaming you squarely, and the American public is blaming you squarely.
Especially when we do want border security as a Democrat. Like, I don't want to focus on this temper tantrum. I want to focus on what technologically we could work on, what kind of asylum seekers we could talk to, what immigration attorneys, what judges, what can we get through so we don't have a clog there. So we would love to know what you guys think. A lot of you disagree with us, which is great. We want to let you know we're going to a Heart Threads right now, and the name of it is... Teacher.
Teacher is the word of the day. We'll talk to you guys.
Guys, I love teachers.
Stay with us all day and all week.
Teachers.
Bye.
It's difficult when I tell the story sometimes because the emotions come flooding back up, and I realize how close we were to losing students, and that's challenging to just think about how close that was. I left Chico at 7 a.m. and as I was driving up, immediately I saw a little puff of smoke over the mountains towards the direction of Paradise. Just a little puff of smoke, and in California, seeing some smoke in the distance is just not, we see it all the time. We felt like the school day would continue and that we would be updated on the fire, and if things did get bad, we would know about it with plenty of time. At about 7:45, I got a call from a teacher who said that she had a fire at her house. She was in Upper Paradise, and our school's in Lower Paradise. I thought it was unrelated to the other fire because it just didn't make sense to me that a fire could travel 10 miles in 15 minutes. I didn't really take it that seriously until about 15 minutes later when the sky started turning black and all this black soot started coming out of the sky. It was like a black snowstorm, and it was covering all the sidewalks, and we realized at that time that things were changing rapidly. We contacted parents and told them to start picking up their students. The pickup was panicky, the parents were panicked, the kids were panicked. The teachers, it was pretty amazing. We had clipboards, we had name sheets, we were tracking everyone, we were trying to maintain order in the chaos. Between 8:30 and 9:30, we got about 3/4 of the students were picked up by parents, and it was pretty frantic. It was dark, you couldn't see without a flashlight. I had to go up to the wood shop at school to find face masks to provide to teachers, because we kept the students inside, but the teachers were outside, and they were trying to get students into cars, and they were breathing the sooty air, and I realized it wasn't safe, so I started handing out face masks. And we had about 50 students remaining, and we started hearing propane tanks exploding, and we heard that another school was on fire about a mile away. We were discussing options of what to do, whether to stay in the cafeteria or whether, if the fire approached the cafeteria, whether to go to our soccer field and basically lay in the field and put towels over our faces and shelter in place. Sheriff's deputy arrived. He said, everybody needs to leave, you need to evacuate immediately, kids will go in teachers' cars. And he said, seatbelt laws do not apply, stuff as many as you can in your car. We started that process. I was one of the first cars out. I had 4 students. A lot of them were reluctant to leave the school because in their mind, they get dropped off at school and picked up at school. And when we started taking them away, they were worried about their parents. Are their parents going to come to school and not find them there? I did not drive through flames. I drove through dark and raining, dark soot and smoke. But other teachers drove through flames, and I was told the route that I went down 15 minutes later was a complete inferno. I just kept talking, and I kept talking about what we were seeing and that we're going to be okay. Traffic was jammed, and one of the challenges was you're stuck in traffic, a fire's right on your tail, and you can't get out of it. So it took us a few hours, and during that time we were trying to call parents. We eventually brought 125 students from all the schools to the evacuation center, then reunited them with their parents, but some of these parents didn't show up. They were stuck in traffic for 5 hours, they were in the flames, and I just can't imagine the terror those parents had as they're driving down that hill, evacuating themselves, not knowing if their kids are still up there, and they can't get to them. You know, when they would come in and ask if their child was there, first graders, second graders, you know, and not knowing if their child had made it down. The only thing that kept us going that day is when we did reunite a student with a parent. You know, the tearful embrace and the relief was definitely keeping us going, keeping us energized throughout the night. I think our last student was reunited at midnight. On one hand, there was a sense of accomplishment, but there was a real sense of incompletion too, because we knew our town was destroyed. We knew our schools were damaged. And I realized how close we were to losing students. And that's challenging to just think about how close that was. And in the moment, we just did what we did. And we just helped and, you know, just solved one problem at a time and did what we had to do. But the thought of losing a student in that sort of situation is deeply troubling and emotional to think about. We are going to build the community starting with our schools. We are completely committed as a school district to getting our kids back with their teachers and to get them learning again and to get them back with their friends. And that will be the seed that, you know, grows the future of that community moving forward as they start to move back and envision a new paradise.